Digimon Dusk or Digimon Dawn? Light Fang or Nightclaw? Well, you can play them both in the card game. Alright, starting with our Digi-Egg cards, I got 4 copies of Moonmon here, so I'm opting in for a blue base, which we'll also talk about the red base later on afterwards in the extra cards. But here, with the Moonmon, your turn 1 to turn when you play a Tamer with Nightclaw or Light Fang and its traits, one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon card in your hand, which is kind of cool, kind of interesting, so you can do some really neat combos and such. But yeah, I definitely want to go for blue base, which I'll talk about more particularly why as we go through and talk about all the other cards. But for those who are more interested in the red base, I'll be posting a version of that on the AVAULT Club membership as well, so if you haven't done so yet, be sure to join and you get to check out all my other deck builds and deck lists over there as well. And definitely consider subscribing and turning on that notification bell if you want to see more EX5 related deck profiles and Digimon content on this channel generally as well, and give this video a like, and I really appreciate the support. But whether you're playing blue or red base, when it comes to the rookies lineup, it's pretty much like straightforward. You're playing basically like 4 and 4 of everything, but let's just talk about each card anyways. 4 copies of Lunamon right here, Digivolving for 0 on top of any Light Fang or Nightclaw Digi-Egg, so either red or blue anyways is good. Start your main phase by returning one Digimon card to your hand. You get to gain 2 memory. It has that inheritable main effect where once returned by placing the top card of this Digimon to the bottom of your sources with Nightclaw or Light Fang, you get to gain 2 memory by tucking it underneath the Digivolution card as its bottom. So yeah, with this one, that's basically it with Lunamon. That's your blue one. And then we also have Coronamon right here, which is the red one. It has that start of your main phase effect. If you have a Tamer with Light Fang or Nightclaw, you get to gain a memory. It has that inheritable exactly the same as Lunamon as well. And it's very, very crucial to utilize these inheritables as much as you can during your combo stages so you can do more combos, Digivolve more, and build your stack that way as well. So yeah, therefore 4 and 4 is definitely a must-have when it comes to those two. And that's basically it for the rookies as we move into our level 4s. Starting with our blue stuff, we got 4 copies of Lekismon right here. It Digivolves for 2 on top of Nightclaw or Light Fang, so they can always intertwine and Digivolve on top of the blue and reds of each other, which is really great. On play and when Digivolving, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You get to add 1 card with Nightclaw trait and 1 card with Light Fang or Galaxy trait among them, and then you return the rest back to the bottom. Potentially getting 2 hits is always the fantastic value out of these cards because you want to search and grab those pieces as much as you can, and that's really where you get your sort of draw and search power from overall. Digivolving as much as you can, searching with these guys with your level 4s as much as you can as well. It has the inheritable. Opponent's turn, this Digimon gets extra for 2000 DP. As for the red one, we got Firemon or Firemon. Same thing, Digivolving on top of any red or blue level 3, essentially, having that on play and when Digivolving, revealing top 3, grabbing yourself a Light Fang trait card and a Nightclaw or a Galaxy as well. Same thing, potentially getting 2 hits, and the inheritable is your turn. This Digimon gains extra 2000 DP, which is always good to have DP power for both during your own turn and your opponent's turn all at the same time. But that's it for level 4s. Let's continue with our level 5s. 4 copies of Crescimon, Digivolving for 3 on top of blue or red. Same again with Nightclaw, Light Fang for the cost of 3 instead. And this level 5 has a pretty neat effect because when you would hard play it or Digivolve it, if you have a Digimon with 3 or more sources underneath, that is Nightclaw or Light Fang or Galaxy, you get to reduce the Digivolution cost by 2 and the play cost by 2. Effectively, you can hard play this for 5 costs or even Digivolve it for 1 as you rack up more sort of sources underneath your main Digimon that you're trying to get into. It has that on play when Digivolving effect until the end of your opponent's turn. One of the Digimon can't suspend, meaning they can't attack, they can't suspend. It's effectively kind of like stunned for an entire turn, which is really good. And then inheritable, extra 2000 DP during the opponent's turn. And then for the fire counterpart, got 4 copies of Flaremon, of course, as well. Same type of deal when this card would be hard played or Digivolve if you have a Digimon with Light Fang or Nightclaw with multiple sources that are 3 or more, you get to reduce the cost by 2, effectively making a 1 cost Digivolve and our 5 cost hard play. This one has on play when Digivolving, delete when your opponent's Digimon with 5000 DP or less. Kind of neat for, smaller removal things. And then your turn, inheritable, extra 2000 DP for sure too. That's it for level 5s. Now let's talk about our level 6s, starting with our Nightclaw blue side of stuff. 4 copies of Dianamon here. But of course, same type of deal, Digivolving for 4 on top of a Light Fang or Night Claw. When Digivolving, when attacking as well, that's once per turn. For each sources that this Digimon has, you get to trash any one of your opponent's Digimon sources from one of their Digimon, and then until the end of your opponent's next turn, all their Digimon with no sources can suspend. So really good when it comes to that. You can trash sources, stun the board as well at the same time to sort of like go for the defensive and offensive style of plays because it has that all turns effect as well. Once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon's Digivolution card is trashed, you get to unsuspend this Digimon right here as well to make multiple attacks if you want, or even it is a blocker itself to, you know, make blocks potentially too. So really good card, very versatile and very flexible as well. And then for the offensive fiery side of things, 4 copies of Apollomon of course as well. Same type of deal, Digivolving for 4 on top of any Light Fang or Night Claw for 4 costs, or red or blue level 5. It has one Digivolving Blitz. Now for every 3 cards in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, it gains security +1. By maximizing the most of it, you can actually very easily make this security +2 in total, so it can check for like 3 checks just by 1 blitz attack, which is absolutely insane. And your turn once per turn, when a card is removed from your opponent's security stack, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this particular Digimon DP, almost removing anything if you rack up all your level 3s, 4s, and 5s reds, specifically 4s and 5s because they give you extra 2000 DP with their inheritables, making Apollomon almost like 16k, which is incredibly powerful and strong for removal and aggression, which I really like getting into. But that's it for our level 6s, and of course our level 7, the strongest galaxy Digimon, you know, of all cosmic powers. We got GraceNovamon right here. This requires you to sometimes either Digivolve for 6 on top of any red or blue for 6 costs, which sometimes you do, but otherwise, ideally, you do want to try to DNA Digivolve it, but it specifically does require Apollomon and Dianamon for cost of 0 by putting it together. And itself has security +1 and blocker itself, basically kind of gaining that kind of effects of Apollomon and Dianamon. It has a when Digivolving and when attacking effect that's not once per turn. So if you DNA Digivolve first, you get to trash any 8 Digivolution cards from your opponent's Digimon. Then you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon that has sources that are equal or fewer than the amount of Digivolution cards that this Digimon particularly has, which is absolutely insane. You're constantly removing stuff turn after turn. You know, the longer that GraceNovamon sticks on board, the more value, and you can actually just delete a bunch of stuff. And it can really stick on the board just because of its all turns last effect is that when this Digimon would leave the battle area by an opponent's effect, by trashing 2 same level cards in this Digimon's Digivolution sources, you get to prevent it from leaving play. Essentially kind of like the whole Greymon and the Omnimon kind of protection type of deal, just by like, you know, stripping away 2 same level sources. And, you know, if you build your stack and set up it correctly, you can like protect it like up to like 3 times, which is absolutely insane. And yeah, GraceNovamon is just incredibly strong and a really cool, powerful card. It's really nice to see blue and red synergy all together in the one whole deck. That's it for all of our Digimon. Now let's talk about our Tamers. We got 4 copies of Sayo and Ko, 3 cost Tamer, which has a your turn effect. When an effect places the top card of your Digimon into the bottom sources, you get to spend this Tamer to gain a memory. It has a starter opponent's turn effect. By playing 1 card with the same level as one of your Digimon that is Night Claw or a Light Fang trait from your Digivolution sources, without paying the cost, 2 of your Digimon can actually DNA afterwards as well from your hand. So what you want to ideally be doing is then potentially you have Apollomon and Dianamon and they get to play one of them out, and then you DNA during the start of your opponent's turn, which is kind of crazy and kind of nutty, which will show you guys how it exactly works when it comes to combos. But mainly you want to use it for the first part effect to help you turbo, give you more memory so that you can bridge your combos easier with it as well. Then we got 4 copies of Ko and Sayo, which is the red version of them, and this is your main memory tamer of the deck. But not only just being the main memory tamer, their secondary effect provides you a lot of value and consistency as well, because on play or main, by suspending this tamer, you get to place the top card of one of your Light Fang or Night Claw trait Digimon cards into the bottom of their sources, and then you can Digivolve into a Digimon card from your hand for free. So that's how you sort of like add more sources and cycle through your sources all at the same time together, so then you can build your stack optimally with this particular card. And the more copies you see of this card is also really great because it can let you do it multiple times. You know, if you you have more than one copy of it on the board presently too. That's it for all of our Tamers. Let's talk about options. This is where the defining part, where that's why we're going for the blue base, is because I like Goodnight Moon as my main option. Until the end of the opponent's turn, one of your opponent's Digimon and one of the Tamers can't suspend. Afterwards, unless you play a Tamer card with Nightclaw or Light Fang from your hand for free, and being able to play these Tamers for free are going to be really crucial. This card can buy yourself some time. This card can be very defensive, comes out with security, really great as well, can surprise your opponents too. So, and mainly, I really like this option just because I can play the Tamers for free, which this deck actually doesn't offer, which you guys may have realized. That's why we're also running more blue memory boosts right here, 3 copies of blue, and we're also running 2 copies of red, just for searching capabilities to find our pieces, and also giving us the memory that we need to sort of be able to go for more plays. The reason why we play memory boost instead of training cards in this particular deck is because we do focus a lot on blue and red cards. We want to be able to dig deeper to find specific pieces so that we can guarantee our hits, rather than when it comes to training cards that only potentially can give you 1 hit and sometimes not even a hit at all. So there's a little bit of inconsistency, which is why this is one of the only decks out there I would say memory boost is a little bit better. Moving into tech choices or sort of other cards, we did talk about red base a little bit, so that we can talk about these cards a little bit. There's Sunmon if you're running the red base instead. You know, your turn once per turn, when effect places the top card of this Digimon's Digivolution cards, this Digimon can Digivolve into another Digimon into your hand with the Digivolution cost, but you get to reduce it by 1. And if you're going for the red base, then you can play Phoebus Blow right here, which is a 6 cost. It deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP, and then you have a Tamer in play. You get to return 1 card with Light Fang or Nightclaw or Galaxy Trait from your trash to your hand for a bit of like recursion, which is kind of nice. But you guys can kind of see that's why I feel like the Goodnight Moon package is a little bit better when it comes to the blue base overall, just for more consistency's sake, and just being able to like pull off your combos a bit more better that way too. Alright, combos and how to play the Dawn and Dusk Light Fang Nightclaw deck. Ideally, when it comes to your opening hand, you do want to see your level 3s. More importantly, I would argue seeing level 4s is actually more of your priority, because they actually help you search and find pieces. Both with their on-play and when Digivolving effects, they can help you grab all the other stuff that you need to continue to build. Of course, you do want to see your Tamers at some point. You do want to establish them early stages in the game when you can, just because you don't have ways to cheat them out for free, other than sort of the Goodnight Moon option card, which is more handy in the mid stages of the game. And of course, you know, your blue and your red memory boost if you have so. So of course, you know, you hatch your egg. It is blue, so that's the whole reason why I've run more blue memory boost. But if you do run Coincido as well, you know, can establish that early so you can have a red source to help you play your red option, which is your red memory boost and whatnot. But yeah, Digivolving into either Coronamon or Lunamon, whichever you have during the time, is just really how it works. Keep in mind, if you do Digivolve like Coronamon on top, you know, then you become a red source as well now, not a blue source anymore. So always keep that in mind. You know, first turn play is, I personally ideally like to, you know, play one of any of these cards and then pass my opponent to 3 or whatnot, and then afterwards they'll pass me back to 1 or even just 2. Memory Tamer is always great. Let's just say you start back at 3, just because you have it right there. You get to push this up, and you don't use the starter main effect at this moment just yet. It can be utilized like a little bit later on, but what you do want to do if you have Coronamon, you get to gain a memory back right here at the starter main, just like that as well. That totally works, but whichever you have is good, because then what you want to do is ideally you want to Digivolve into either of your level 4s. Once you Digivolve into either of your level 4s, you search. You grab yourself the other level 4. The more level 4s you can gather, the better. And that's when you want to find the rest of your other pieces, which you include level 5s, level 6s, and your GraceNovamon essentially. So that's how you want to continue to find your pieces as you go. And then with Lekismon, with Lunamon's Inheritable, get a Tuck It underneath to gain 2 memory back. And by doing so, you can pay another 2 to Digivolve into Pheromon here. Now by Digivolve into Pheromon, you get to search again and do all that kind of combo and jazz, which is really nice. Now what's the next step is when you have your level 5s, you can Digivolve into any one of them, depending on what the opponent's board looks like. If there's stuff to delete, if there's stuff that you want to stun, you know, go for it. You get to Digivolve here for 1 effectively, because the Pheromon has 3 or more sources already at this moment. So by doing so, you stun something. This is which is really cool what happens next. Then you get to suspend your Saiyan Ko, which has a on-play or main effect by, you know, tucking this underneath, back under down. You can Digivolve into Flaremon for free. and then pop a 5k or lower. This is how you kind of stack build with this particular deck. By building your stack like this, you then eventually can go into your eater of your level 6s. Apollomon would be usually the one that I like to open with, just because you go into it, you can 1 Digivolve and blitz, swing for multiple checks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Since there's 6 sources, it's gonna be 3 checks at 16k DP, and right at the first check, you're going to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 16k DP or less, which is absolutely amazing. Of course, in any of the situations, if you have Sio and Co during this particular time, every time when you tuck something underneath, you can suspend them to gain yourself the memory back as well. If you're able to sort of like have a combination of the memory boost and you get to retain your turn and you're even back at 0 after attacking with Apollomon, even if you have Co and Sio, if you have multiple copies of these guys, it's always going to be good too. If your opponent chipped you at security, or if you had a chance to establish the second one, you can then suspend the second one even, tuck Apollomon underneath, and then Digivolve into Dianamon. By Digivolving into Dianamon, you get to unsuspend, or trash sources first and then unsuspend, and then you can actually swing again. So you want to have this kind of setup. You want to have the multiple level 4s, multiple level 5s, and the multiple level 6s. And if any in the situation, if you have the multiple level 3s, that could be also decent if you ever go into it. But anyways, once you pass your turn to your opponent to 3 or whatever, this is when you get to use Sio and Co's secondary effect. By playing out the Apollomon from underneath your Dianamon, you can now then DNA into GraceNovamon. And by doing so, you get to DNA during your opponent's turn, and that's sort of how you go into GraceNovamon and go for that full kind of combo and trash even more sources your opponent has. When Digivolving, delete your opponent's Digimon with sources less than or equal to this guy as well. GraceNovamon is essentially 19k DP during your opponent's turn and 19k during your own turn because of the red and blue sources that you have. Not to mention, if Apollomon is ever going to be in threat, or if GraceNovamon is ever in threat, you get to delete the protection essentially 3 times, because you have multiple level 4s, multiple level 5s, and multiple level 6s. And that's just absolutely insane. And then from here on now, once you go into GraceNovamon, you just keep beating your opponent down bit by bit, checking their security as much as you can, and then you can potentially build a second combo stack in the raising, and then repeat all that combo process again, and that's kind of how you win this with this deck. Sometimes, I want to even mention, you might not even need GraceNovamon. You might not even need to DNA particularly to get into it. You can just climb it up traditionally like this, and you start yourself at 3. If you attack with a Polo or something, you might just Digivolve for 3 into GraceNova to end the turn, and not utilize this when Digivolving in terms of DNA, but just hard Digivolving into it is just as good as well, if you don't see your combo pieces that way. That's just one optimal way to sort of play it, but sometimes you just might want to get into it like this instead. But like I also mentioned, sometimes you just don't really need GraceNovamon. You can just beat down your opponents with Apollomon strong enough, do a lot of checks, come out with a second one, go into a Dianamon, and just have these 2 separate stacks itself help you finish the game overall and take down your opponents too. And then you might sometimes just want to DNA during your own turn without using the Sio and Co even, and DNA this way too, which gives you a lot of versatility when it comes to building this big stack again, and really, really strong. Going to GraceNovamon, resetting everything, and then attack again. And you do a lot of damage thanks to all the red sources you have when it comes to security +1 as well. So pretty simple, kind of tricky to understand in the beginning, but once you guys saw how you want to utilize your Co and Sios and Co's, and that's kind of how you want to shove stuff underneath constantly to gain memory, and that's what you really want to do with this particular deck. So if you guys haven't done so yet, be sure to check out the gameplay video and how to play this particular deck and see it all in action with these combos I showcase you guys right here, right now. As always, make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification bell for more EX5 deck profiles and content and videos and Digimon videos on this channel. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video. And this is AVAULT signing out.